Today we are going to learn about the deep copy and shallow copy. So what is the deep copy and shallow copy? So basically we uh, try to copy one of the object, and through that we will understand how the deep copy and shallow copy works. So for that we have to create one object. So let us understand with one of the example how to understand the deep and shallow copy. Based on that we will see how the copying of the object works. We'll see how the object reference works, and in order to make the deep copy and shallow copy, let's create one object. Okay, so I will create one object as a employee details, where I will try to give name, suppose Ashish, employee ID as 2231, and you can say address, anything you can give. Suppose I can give Delhi, or you can give location here. So now here what I will do, I will create one more employee. I will try to copy this object to another variable. So suppose I copy this as employee copy equal to employee details. So here if you see, right, employee details is getting directly copied to the employee copy. So here what we are trying to do, we are trying to do the copy the whole object data from the employee details to employee copy. And if we try to print this value, right, we'll see employee, first we'll print the employee details, and then we'll try to print employee copy. So here if you see, right, first one is for, we'll give one reference so that you will get to know which data it is getting printed. So here we are trying to understand the concept for the shallow copy. So shallow copy, how does it work? We are trying to reference the, we are trying to create one of the object and copying the same object to one of the another variable, and we will see how this works. Employee, initially we are trying to copy one of the object to the another variable, and we are trying to print this output. You see, right, employee details is the name, employee ID and Delhi, and employee copy is also taking the same data, and it is reference to the employee copy. So now if you try to change any of the details for the from the employee copy, suppose you have given some wrong data like a employee ID, in order to, let's also understand, in order to access any of the variable, any of the object data, not a variable, from the variable to the, suppose this is one of the object, and you have to change the employee ID, you have to use the dot notation in order to access that value and change the data. So suppose I give 2235, since probably by mistake we have wrote the wrong data for the employee ID. So from the copying of the data, I'm trying to change, from the copy variable, I'm trying to change the data for the employee ID. So since we are only changing to the employee copy, it should only change to the this, right, employee copy, not from the original source. And if we try to print this data, right, and if we try to console this data, we'll see what does it prints, whether it changes the employee ID for the only for the employee copy, or it changes for the employee details also. So what do you say, guys? So for me it look like, for you also, if you are a, if you don't know the concept for the shallow copy or the deep copy, you will be thinking like we are only changing to the employee copy and not changing the employee details. So in order to understand that, let's first print the value after changing the data, and see what does it prints. So if you see, right, here for the employee copy, employee ID is 2235, 2235, and for employee details it is again 2235. Why? We have only changed the data for the employee copy, right? Why it is changing for the employee details? So in order to understand that, because earlier it was 22231, but now it is 2235, and since we have only changed to the employee copy, why it is referencing to the employee details? So in order to understand this concept, this is the one we call it as a shallow copy. Shallow copy is the one if you are trying to copy any of the object data to the another variable, and if you change the value for that particular copied data, it will affect the employee details, because here we are not copying the data, here we are referencing to the original data. So basically reference of the address of this location is being shared with this employee copy. Due to that only uh, it is changing the value of the original object. We can write is shallow copy. So due to that only, so since this is getting referenced and to that particular memory location to the employee id, and if you try to change the employee copy, it will automatically reflect to the employee details, because it is referencing to the same memory location. Now due to that reason only, it is both the data of the employee copy and employee details is getting changed, right? Because you have changed only for the employee copy, but it is also affecting to the employee details. So now what you will think, okay, let me what to do? Let me create one copy of the, we will copy the object in another way. So what we will do, we will copy using what else, what are the other ways we can do? We can copy the data. So one of the another way where we can copy the object data is using object dot assign, right? Or you can use the spread operator, like inside the curly braces, to copy the object, so that any of the data if you try to copy and change this value for suppose employee id or something, either name or the location, it will not reference to the original object, right? So what we will do in this only, instead of doing this, what we will do, we'll comment this line, and we will try to copy the object using object dot assign. So let employee copy equal to object dot assign, and then one of the target value and the source where we have to copy it. So we will create one target data and employee details. Now if you try to change the employee id for the employee copy, it shouldn't reflect to the employee details, because it is trying to create, it's trying to reference to the new memory location instead of referencing to the original source, right? So now suppose I will not change the employee id, I will comment it. Instead I will change the location. So what I will do, employee copy dot location, and I will give Mumbai, because I know Ashish is not from the Delhi, he is from the Mumbai. So now if I try to print this data, right, so you can see, right, location for the main employee details, that is the one which we are trying to copy it, it's Delhi, but employee copy where we have tried to change the location, which is Mumbai, it's getting changed, it's not affecting to the original source, right? This is using the object dot assign. There is one more way where you can do, you can copy the object is the using the spread operator. So let employee copy equal to employee details, and then I will not change the location. I will try to change the name. So what I will write, employee copy dot name equal to Arun, right? So this details employee copy, in this I have changed the name, and now it shouldn't affect the original source of the object where we are trying to copying it. Okay, so now if I remove this and see, right, the original source name is Ashish, but the copied data where we have modified the data is Arun. It's not affecting the original source, right? So this is the way where we can do the deep copy. But here is here also there is one trick. It's object dot assign and spread operator. Use of the spread operator to copy the object is not completely the shallow deep copy, you can say. It's not a deep copy, because suppose if I say, right, if I have one more object inside this, like you can say project, right? What are the project they have been assigned to inside this, and name, p name, project name, which is referencing it to this data, is like front end, right? Now if you try to use the either of the spread data spread operator or object dot assign, and you will think, right, I will try to change this. I will not change this. Okay, let it be. I will try to change employee copy dot project dot p name, and I will change it to, instead of t, sorry, it got mistyped, I'll assign him to the backend. So you will think, right, using the object dot assign or using the spread operator, we were not referencing to the original source of the data, right, of that particular object. But here this concept went wrong when there is one more object present inside the object. You will see here how does this affect. So now if I show you the employee details, this is also getting changed, and even from the copied data also it's getting changed. The inner object is getting changed because we are only trying to make this copy data to be ref to be changed, right, not the original source. But why it is getting changed? So now the concept for us using the object dot assign and the spread operator went wrong, right? So now what we have to do? So from here, the solution for this, how to make the exact copy and it shouldn't affect the original source of the employee's object for that particular object. Basically you can say referencing of the object shouldn't get affect from the original source. You have to understand the concept for the deep copy. So now what we will do, we will understand how deep copy works. So there are multiple ways where you can perform the deep copy, either using the recursion method or using the JSON way. So I will tell you the easiest way where you can use the concept for the deep copy. If you have to perform any of the operation, like you have to copy the JSON data which you would be getting after hitting the response API, you can use, and you have to copy that object and you have to modify that object, and you don't have to modify the original source of that API. Instead, you should be modifying the copied data, right? So what we have to do? So for that, you can use one of the good concept for that, like JSON.stringify. I will show you how we can do. So what I will do, I will comment this and I will comment this all again, and we will see how we can do. So what we will do, we will again create one of the employee copy object, and here first we will stringify the data, and here we will put the employee details, and then what we will do, we will enclose this into the JSON dot parse. As you know, right, JSON dot stringify will stringify the data into the string format, and then JSON dot parse will again move back to the JSON data. So now if you see, right, now we are using the concept as a div copy using the JSON data, JSON way to copy the data, so that it shouldn't affect the original source of the data, right? So what we will do, just like what we were doing earlier, I will copy these 4 lines so that it would be clear, and I'll uncomment these 4 lines. And now we are only modifying the copied data, not the original source data. So that is the only way where you can perform the deep copy. There is one more way. You can use the recursion method, where you have to write one method and check whether that data is an object, and you can loop that data and using the for loops by getting the keys value, and you can perform. So since we have used the json.parse and json.stringify, this is also one of the easiest way where you can perform and save the time to perform the deep copy without affecting to the original source, right? Earlier what we have done, we have tried using object.assign and using the spread operator, but it didn't work with the nested object, right? So that is the reason we have to come into the concept for the deep copy in order to solve this problem. So using the JSON way, json.stringify and then json.parse, it will copy the data from the original source with referencing to the new location instead of pointing to the same location. And then from there, if you try to modify the data, right, it will not affect to the original source of the data. So what we will do, we'll try to run this data, run this code, and we'll see what we get the output. So here if you see, right, the original source was employee detail, where we have given the name, employee ID, location, and front end as a project name for this particular, for the Ashish. And but for the Arun, who is from the Delhi, okay, we haven't changed the location, that's fine. Now but we have changed the name, and we have changed the project assigned to him, which is nothing but the backend. So here you can see, right, now we have successfully copied the object data without referencing to the original source by creating the new memory location for this particular employee copy object, where if we try to modify or add any of the data using employee copy, it will not affect to the original source. So whole concept for this can be applied to your project also, where you will get the JSON data by hitting the API. And if you get the JSON data, if you want to modify those data without modifying the original source of the data, from where after hitting the API you might be getting one JSON data, right? So instead of modifying the original source of data, you can keep the copy of that data and you can play around with all those data. So hope you might have got the concept for the deep copy and the shallow copy. It's quite easy. If you understand it properly, you will get that. You shouldn't use the object.assign or the spread operator in order to copy the object. You can use json.stringify to stringify the data, and then you can use the json.parse so that it will copy the object and you can perform any of the modification or the object data. Okay, hope you might have got the concept for the deep copy and shallow copy. So let's meet to the next video. Thank you.